Kael'thas brings the fire to Heroes of the Storm, NCSoft's profits are down, all that and more. I'm Zach Sharps and this is Free to Play Weekly. Space Ninjas rejoice! Digital Extreme launched new content for Warframe this week, and there's a good bit of it. Featured in the 2 Min of Rhaegor update is new PvP game modes, a new tile set on Uranus, and yes, I mean the planet, new weapons, trials, and customization options for your Tenno. The PvP content is particularly the key with this update, especially since it adds in the new team and free-for-all annihilation deathmatch modes, plus 4 new maps to ensure variety. Not to mention there are now nightmare trials, which are essentially the raids within Warframe for you PvE players out there. And considering how frequent the content updates have been for Warframe, I really can't say much negatives about this update, especially since it got me back into the game. A few weeks ago, Neverwinter's new lead, Scott Shykoff, told players that mistakes were made in regards to Elemental Evil, the newest module within the Dungeons & Dragons inspired free-to-play MMORPG. This week, Shykoff took it to the game's website to announce that changes are finally coming as early as this week. The first thing noted is that player powers will receive much-needed fixes, and the effects of certain abilities lingering and causing server issues will be addressed. Plus, on the content side of things, the Temple of Tiamat fight will now have a restriction on it that only allows level 70 players with item scores at or above 1800 to even enter. Additionally, as promised, rewards, XP gains, and other elements on Shykoff's list are also receiving finer touches, which is certainly good news. To top things off though, it appears that the Xbox One version of Neverwinter is doing fantastic, especially since they announced 1.6 million players have downloaded and tried out the game. How many have they retained? That's another story. Remember those free-to-play rumors floating around about Wildstar? Well, it seems as though they're not going away and becoming even more juicy. It appears this week that a Carbine employee, God of EDM, stated the game will move to a hybrid free-to-play model in August. As for the attitude in the office of Carbine surrounding the game's failure to sustain its financial goals and its possible future, God of EDM stated the following: "There's no transparency and everyone is always fearful of what will even be there 2 months from now. The place is ran very poorly by people who have the biggest egos that fight over everything." In the end, these are only allegations by a basically anonymous employee that supposedly works for Carbine. That being said, as I've stated boldly in the past, it wouldn't surprise me if Wildstar goes free to play, especially considering its financial struggles in comparison to NCSoft's other titles. Speaking of NCSoft, this week the popular publisher detailed their Q1 earnings of 2015, and they were not that pretty. If you compare Q1 of 2015 to Q1 of 2014, total sales of all NCSoft products are down by 20%, while all operating profit is down a staggering 49%. Post-holiday blues could be the reason for some of this decline, plus Wildstar's lack of success does not help either, considering out of all NCSoft titles, it's performing like a turtle in a race of rabbits. Not a good thing if you ask me, but with the rumored free-to-play move Wildstar might make, possibly we could see as big of a comeback that Ion had in its future. When I was thinking what's missing from Blizzard's Heroes of the Storm, one of the things I thought of was a Fire Mage. It appears Blizzard was thinking the same thing as they added Kael'thas Sunstrider to the lineup in the popular up-and-coming MOBA. Entering the fray as an assassin type, you'll certainly be able to dish out a ton of damage, but at the cost of survivability, and you have a single target stun, the power of a swooping phoenix, and more, so his skill set is certainly interesting. To top off the Heroes of the Storm news this week, Blizzard has also announced that they're hosting a Heroes of the Storm World Championships at this year's BlizzCon. Taking place November 6th through the 7th, teams will face off to win the top prize of $200,000 with a $1.2 million pool making up the entirety of the championship season. It's not really too surprising of a move by Blizzard because it allows them to further promote Heroes of the Storm and grow their esports exposure as a whole. This brings us to the question of the week. Last week on the show, I asked if esports belong on TV. A user by the name of 5000CZ said the following: well, TV and cable is generally dying as on-demand programs are gaining dominance in the entertainment industry. This was evident just as HBO came on the scene, and that's why I believe it doesn't really matter if esports gets onto TV or not. Most of us will be watching it on YouTube or some other on-demand site. I'm not going to miss class or work just to watch TV when I can watch it later in comfort. Thanks for your response, and if you want your comment possibly featured in next week's episode, make sure to leave a comment down below. This week's question is, with the rise of another MOBA in esports, which is your favorite to watch and why? If you don't like watching MOBAs, do you like watching esports at all? I'm curious to hear which game is your guys' favorite to watch, because personally mine is Heroes of the Storm, but I do occasionally watch League of Legends. Well guys, that does it for the news this week. As always, go check out that giveaways page, but that does it for me. Signing off until next week's Free to Play Weekly, I'm Zach Sharps as always, and I will catch you guys next time.